So what if a marriage proposal, a moment that should be all about love and coming together, just completely devolved into an all-out war? I'm talking a war over a tiny patch of grass and a couple of dogs. Well, that is the absurdly brilliant idea behind Anton Chekhov's The Proposal, a play that is just as hilarious as it is a biting critique of human silliness. Today, we're going to break down this comedic masterpiece.
You'd think proposing would be pretty simple, right? You show up, you pop the question, you hope for a yes. But in Chekhov's world, oh no, it is never that easy. Instead of romance, what we get is a complete meltdown over property lines and a fiery debate about which hunting dog has a better pedigree. And that right there, that ridiculous, hilarious conflict, is the absolute heart of this play.
All right, first up, let's actually look at the proposal itself. And you can just forget about flowers and romantic speeches. In this world, marriage is a strategic move. It's a calculated decision based on business, not love. It's really less about finding your soulmate and a whole lot more about securing your assets.
So let's meet our groom-to-be, Ivan Lomov. He's 35, and he is not driven by passion. Not at all. He's driven by pure practicality. He needs a wife for a quiet, stable life, and, most importantly, to secure his land. This is not a love story, folks. It's basically a real estate deal. This trio, they are a recipe for pure comedic disaster. You've got Lomov, a nervous hypochondriac who's on this mission of convenience. Then you have Natalya. Sure, she wants a husband, but what she wants even more is to win an argument. And her father, Chubukov? He is just ecstatic about the financial side of this match, but absolutely cannot resist jumping into any fight. Each one of these characters is just a bundle of contradictions, totally primed for chaos.
I mean, listen to Lomov's own words here. They just reveal his cold, calculated game plan. He's describing his future bride like he's reading a real estate listing. Excellent housekeeper, not bad looking, well-educated. There's zero passion, no romance. It's just a checklist of practical traits. This whole transactional view of marriage is basically the dry kindling for the huge fire of arguments that's about to erupt.
So, with such a practical plan, what could possibly go wrong? Well, as it turns out, everything. This is the exact moment where a simple proposal goes completely off the rails into total and utter chaos.
Yeah, the proposal is almost immediately forgotten. It gets completely hijacked by two of the most ridiculous arguments you can possibly imagine. First, they wage war over this tiny, practically worthless piece of land called the Oxen Meadows. And just when you think they might get back on track, nope, they dive headfirst into a ferocious debate over whose dog is better, Lomov's Guess or Natalya's Squeezer.
And this right here, this is the spark that lights the whole powder keg. Lomov, just trying to build a little rapport, casually mentions, "My Oxen Meadows." Natalya's response, "But are they yours?" is the gunshot that starts the war. In a split second, the romantic mission is totally abandoned and the battle for land begins.
Just listen to the pure stubbornness here. Natalya doesn't care about facts or legal papers. This is all about pride. In her mind, the meadows have always belonged to her family, and she is not giving up an inch. Her frantic repetition of hours, hours, hours is the perfect example of how emotion has just completely steamrolled any kind of reason.
And just like that, the argument spirals from a property dispute into a full-on character assassination. Lomov, the guy who just wanted a quiet life, is now screaming insults. The little patch of grass is long forgotten. Now they're just attacking each other's character.
So the first argument ends with Lomov literally getting kicked out of the house. But then Chubukov lets it slip why Lomov was really there. He came to propose. And in this just breathtaking turn of events, Natalya flips from furious fighter to a hysterical woman screaming for them to bring him back. The speed of that change is just dizzying.
You might think, okay, maybe now we'll get a moment of calm, maybe an apology, but that is not how this play works. The second Lomov is back in the room, totally exhausted, heart-pounding, Natalya tries to steer things back to a pleasant topic, and her choice? Hunting dogs. With this one line, she completely accidentally kicks off round 2 of the chaos.
Lomov is just at his breaking point. He cannot believe they're fighting again. And yet, his own pride won't let him back down. He attacks her dog on this tiny technicality. It's overshot. It's a completely meaningless detail, but for these characters, principle, no matter how petty, is absolutely everything.
And the cycle just repeats itself. The shouting gets louder, the insults start flying, and Chubukov eagerly jumps right back into the fight. The three of them create this whirlwind of fury over their dogs until the absolute stress of it all sends Lomov, with his fragile nerves, collapsing into a dead faint. It is absolute, total pandemonium.
But this isn't just a story about three people who love to argue. The bickering, the fainting, the sheer absurdity of it all, it's all part of Chekhov's brilliant critique of his society. So let's peel back the layers and really look at the symbolism he's using here.
So those oxen meadows, there's so much more than just a piece of land. They're a symbol of the character's completely warped priorities. They represent this obsession with property and status that was so common among the landowners of the time. The fact that they're willing to blow up a marriage over this worthless plot of land just shows you how deep their greed and pride really run.
So if the land dispute was all about greed, the dog debate is about pure, unfiltered ego. Guess and Squeezer are basically stand-ins for their owners. By arguing about which dog is better, Lomov and Natalya are really arguing about which one of them is better. It's this primal, almost childish need to win, just projected onto their pets.
And Lomov's physical problems, they aren't just a funny character quirk, it's a really powerful symbol. His heart palpitations, his fainting spells, these are the physical symptoms of a sick society. Chekhov is showing us that a culture that is obsessed with status and wealth at the expense of real human connection is literally bad for your health. The stress of keeping up appearances can make you physically collapse.
Now, after all that chaos, you might be hoping for some kind of clarity, maybe a reconciliation. But Chekhov is not interested in happy endings. Instead, he delivers this final, cynical punchline that just perfectly sums up the entire play's message.
The second Lomov comes to, Chubukov just seizes the moment. There's no romance, no sweet words. He just shoves his daughter's hand into Lomov's and forces the deal shut. The proposal isn't an act of love, it's the frantic closing of a business deal right in the middle of the wreckage of their arguments.
So this is really Chekhov's ultimate message, right? Through this absolutely hilarious farce, he's delivering this scathing critique of the Russian upper class. He's showing how ego can turn people into irrational fools, how marriage can become nothing more than a financial contract, and how we let these tiny petty squabbles completely overshadow what's really important in life.
The final lines of the play are just dripping with irony, as the newly engaged couple immediately launches right back into their argument about the dogs. Chubukov calls for champagne to celebrate their family bliss. This is their future, an endless cycle of pointless fights, all fueled by ego. The wedding isn't going to end the farce, it's only going to make it permanent.
You know, Chekhov wrote the proposal over a century ago, but its satire feels incredibly modern, doesn't it? It forces us to look at our own lives and ask a pretty tough question. What are our oxen meadows? What are the trivial little hills we're willing to die on, the petty arguments that distract us from what truly matters? And as Chekhov so brilliantly shows us, the cost of winning those small battles, well, it might be far greater than we realize.